What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron, and if it's your first time seeing one of my videos, I'd like to welcome you to my channel where I do music reviews and we just chill and talk about all the things that we love or hate. And if you have anything you want me to check out, new, old, album, EP, single, whatever, leave a comment below letting me know what it is and I'll make it happen for you. But for today's review, we're going to be checking out the new album Zeit by the band Rammstein. And if anybody doesn't know who this band is, which I'm sure everybody does, they are a industrial metal or just a hard rock band from Germany. Started about 1994, and Zeit is their 8th studio album. And it was actually an unplanned album that came about when the band started just writing new music due to lockdowns, and they had to postpone their tour, so they were just hanging out at home. And they had a lot of free time on their hands, and I was very much into Rammstein back when I was in, like, I don't know, 7th through 9th grade, give or take. And I was obsessed with them. I listened to their album, I believe it's called Mutter, or I think the English word for it would be Mother. And I listened to the album so much. Actually, I still listen to it quite regularly. I just forget about it sometimes. And that was probably the last time I really listened to Rammstein. Hadn't listened to any of their albums after that nearly as much. I've heard a couple songs here and there, but haven't really dived into anything. So when I heard that this album was coming out, I was very much excited to see what they're doing now, where they've gone. And it was kind of cool going back and listening to some of the old stuff too. The album opens up with this song, Army de Tristan, which means Army of the Dreary in English. It is about solidarity, a bunch of people coming together in agreement. It starts out with like this synthy intro with very smooth drums and vocals in the verses. Then it has a chuggy riff that joins in the bridge, which comes directly after verse 1. And then the chorus gets tons and tons of atmosphere from the electronics. Verse 3 is a little bit more suspenseful with the build-up going into the final chorus, and it's very crisp sounding, and it just brings out so much nostalgia listening to Rammstein again. Then we have the second song, which is the title track, Zeit, which means time. It has this very gentle piano, very calming vocals in the intro. Chorus gets a little bit more of a push from the vocals and the keys. There's like this weird beat that comes in verse 2 with a guitar that has a very, very unique kind of uneasy tone and rhythm to it. Chorus 2 amps things up quite a bit with powerful drums and a little bit more guitar presence. The instrumental afterwards is absolutely insane. It's so heavy, it sounds so good. It's very theatrical, and it definitely pushes the theme of this album a little bit further. The song Schwarz means black, and it has a fantastic drum and bass line in the intro, which blends in very well with the melody from the keyboard. The chorus is very big, and it has, well, big chords to it and a little bit more presence from the synth. The instrumental is very pretty as well due to the keyboard melody played throughout it. Then we have my favorite song on the album. I believe it's pronounced Gifting. I'm not completely sure, but it means toxic. Starts out with a nice galloping riff that cuts out and becomes a very drum and vocal focused verse. The first chorus definitely leaves you hanging. You're thinking, what, that's it? But then once you get to the second chorus, it just delivers the goods with tons of vocal layering, a very haunting synth effect, and then the bridge adds a little bit of darkness to the song, bringing in a lot of atmosphere, leading into the final chorus. My second favorite song on this album, which is kind of a controversial one, is the song Angst, which means fear. And the reason why I like it is because it has a very moshy intro to it. It's got powerful drums in the verse. The chorus is pretty sick, mostly from just the vocal performance. It has just so much authority to it, and the guitar work is fantastic, and the bridge is very nasty in this song. The melody and the guitar riff is just also powerful, and again, the vocal performance is just probably the best on this album. But the reason this song might not be that great is because it's about the Black Man, which is actually a game that kids play in Germany where you have like this rectangle thing on the ground, and you have somebody that starts out on one side, and then you have somebody that starts out on the other side, or I guess a group of people, and one person on the other side, and they are the Black Man, which is actually just another, I guess, term for death, I'm assuming. And so what happens is the death character has to kind of venture out, and he can't move backwards, only forwards or side to side, and same as the other people on this side. And he kind of has to like tag people as they go by, and the more people he tags, and once they get to the other side, they switch, and then they have to go back the other way. And all the people he tags helps him get the rest of the kids out, I guess. And it's kind of controversial just because the name of it is The Black Man, which it kind of makes young kids that don't know any better, see the black man as a bad person, or it's kind of treating the color black as a bad, evil color when it really isn't. And I kind of understand why there's innocence to it, while at the same time it's like, can't we call it like, I don't know, the Grim Reaper or something like that. Then we have the song Okay, which is short for Ong Condom, which means without condom. And this song probably stands out to me the most, musically at least. It sounds the most different from all the other songs at least. Has this choir intro and kind of a video game reminiscent, like techno beat in the verse. The chorus is gigantic with lead vocals join in with the choir. It makes it all just sound really big and huge. Verse 2 gets some really cool guitar licks that are sprinkled in throughout it. The main riff gets isolated in verse 3, and it's just so sick. And then there's like this little breakdown in the outro, which sounds fantastic as well. And directly after it, we have the song Mein Tränen, which I believe that's how it's pronounced, which means My Tears. It's a very slow and sad song. It has tons and tons of emotion in it. It starts out with this slow, like arpeggiated chord and vocals that really carry the verse. Then it develops into this huge guitar section with gigantic chords that carry a lot of atmosphere and build up the intenseness and the weight of the song. And the chorus brings those chords back to life a little bit more, adding some melody in there. Adds a lot to the song just in general, having that melody in there, because it adds a little bit more depth to it, a little bit more color. It makes it just seem a little bit more sad, I guess. Then the pre-chorus has this really fat bass line going into it that I feel like it deserves mentioning, because then it makes all the harmonies and all that stand out so much more in the chorus. Probably my least favorite song on this album is Zig Zag, which was actually one of the singles released, and it means snip snip. It's about the world's obsession with plastic surgery and how it kind of enforces insecurities more than it does help them, and the idea that you're less than just by being you, and you need all this work done to your face and your body to look perfect. But at the same time, it isn't really getting you anywhere other than just making you really sad, not really liking yourself. And it starts out with some vocals and hi-hats in the verse with a riff that just kind of grows and grows until we get to the chorus. And the chorus, honestly, it's just kind of okay musically. It just gets a little, like just a little bit heavier. And the post-chorus, though, I will say, is where it all comes alive and all the music comes out. It just takes some time to really get there. It's got some higher melodies to it. It's got some fat chords. This song definitely has an old school kind of Rammstein sound to it from like the early 2000s. And it sounds really good. It just, I don't know. It didn't really bring anything new to the table like I feel like the rest of these songs did. The song Titten, I'm not really sure how to pronounce this one, but it means fat tits. It's trying not to be shallow while at the same time being very shallow. It's kind of like the guy saying, I don't need a girl that's really smart. I don't need her to be super hot. She doesn't need to look like a model. She doesn't need to have a big butt. But she does need to have really big boobs. And that is a requirement. It starts out with this kind of like anthem thing. And it gets interrupted by a very, very heavy guitar riff. The chorus is, I feel like it's perfect for this song and the theme, just in the overall sound that it has, because it's very innocent. It sounds kind of angelical in a sense, like kind of very mighty, like more holier than thou, kind of like, I don't need all this stuff. I'm not shallow, I'm not superficial, but I do need a girl that has really big boobs. And it shows its true colors at the end of the chorus. And the anthem comes back in just before the bridge, which sounds pretty cool. And I actually enjoyed this song quite a bit. It's a lot of fun, has really good sounds to it. And it goes into the song Lügen, which means lies. And it's got this creepy string passage and kind of creepy vocals until verse 2 comes in with lots and lots of aggression. The chorus keeps this melody kind of like hanging out in the background of big guitars that sounds absolutely great. And the transition going into verse 3 is fantastic. And it brings like that theatrical feel back to this album that the first half carried, thanks to just the insane vocal performance and the song structure and just how it moves through it. I feel like the first half of this album was a little bit more theatrical, and the second half becomes a little bit more of just a normal metal rock sounding album. And this brings us to the closing track, Adieu, which means farewell or goodbye. And it's about a man's journey from life to death from the perspective of his loved ones. It has chilling music in the intro, followed by probably the heaviest riff on this album. The verse has this very sad keyboard melody played throughout it, and the chorus is very big in the same way that all the choruses are big on this album. It gets a little bit more vocal presence, and the keyboard does a little bit more stuff to fill the empty spaces. But again, it has the best riff on this entire album. The bridge is really pretty and has a feeling of sorrow that brings up the emotion a little bit more. And given the name of this song, Farewell, of course, it's a solid closing track. There's not a lot that I really disliked about this album, but there are some things. For instance, most of the songs are musically pretty much the same. Not a whole lot of stuff stands out. Nothing like the song Okay or the song Angst stand out quite a bit musically and kind of in the vocal performances as well. It's all just kind of a heavy riff in the intro to get you all fired up, and then just drums and vocals in the verse, and that riff comes back in the chorus that gets a little bit more stuff from the synth effects and big riffs and stuff. And yeah, like, it doesn't stand out that much, but at the same time, it's Rammstein. Like, they're not known for being like technical deathcore or anything like that. So they're just gonna do what they're gonna do. And I gotta admit that they do a pretty good job on it on this album. And I will say that the first half of this album starts out, like I said, very theatrical. And as it gets a little bit heavier, a little bit darker, as we move into the back half, I definitely found myself enjoying it a lot more. And I don't know, I just really found myself enjoying this album a lot, even though I think most people would consider it to be just a basic rock album or even just a basic Rammstein album. But it reminded me of why I loved this band so much. I mean, the guitar parts are just huge and epic, and the synth stuff is very beautiful, adds tons and tons of emotion, and the vocals are very dominating. All the music sounds so crisp and clear, and it's just stuff that you just don't really hear anywhere else other than from Rammstein. So with all that said, I gotta give Zeit by Rammstein a 6.8 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think, especially people who have been listening to Rammstein for quite a while. Like I said, I stopped listening to them back in probably like 2008, give or take. So I don't really know that much stuff that they've come out with over the past couple years. I believe I'm missing out on at least 3 other albums. So this album seems very fresh. It sounds so good. Of course, it's not their best album, not even to me, but I would say it's definitely up there. It sounds fantastic. So yeah, leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Zeit, what you would rate it, and what your favorite song is. And also, while you're down there, let me know what I should review next. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like. If you want to help support me and my channel, you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. Doing any of that stuff helps me out so much, and I appreciate it more than you guys could ever imagine. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trapped in ignorant kid relying on my parents said to save me. Years gone by, turning over, ignoring every day. Seem to convict me. 17 at the top of my head.